Greetings from Hong Kong, where I am now, so 7 a.m. here. And thanks to Holly, Robert, Derek, and the UCSD team for inviting me to share my experience regarding building fruitful relationship with your mentors and peers and advisors. So I'm speaking from my past experience of various school educations. I'm going to give you some background on what I have journeyed throughout the years, and I'll give you some stories on examples of how my advisors have helped me and how I build relationship with my advisors in school, and then later on mentors and various sponsors in my 33 years of career, and also for a longer time in my call to work ministry that I continue today to have advisors and mentors in my life, and how I build those fruitful relationships. In the same way, I have many peers and co-workers along the way over the decades. So I came from Hong Kong, where I am right now, visiting our family. And then as a teenager in high school, we immigrated from Hong Kong to Maryland. So my family actually came from a very poor background, and we were homeless at one point, and I was also a troublemaker. So a year into the US life, I finally became a Christian and really changed my life to be a peacemaker. And the first advisor story is when I was attending University of Maryland for the first 2 years in college. My physics professor graduated from Cornell, and I was studying hard and actually volunteered to help him in the lab. And I was really thankful that building good relationship with him, as I was a diligent lab worker, that he really appreciated how I blessed him in my good work and how I was diligent to learn. So he suggested, based on my 4.0 GPA at the time, that I should consider applying to Cornell. And prior to thinking about to go to a Cornell, I would never imagine our family being poor. In fact, we were working in the restaurants, and I was a waitress. My parents work in the kitchen. Obviously, that's not their career, but that's what you learn when you came to America and do whatever may not need English, since my parents didn't have much education. So I cannot imagine being able to afford the tuition at Cornell. And in elementary school, we couldn't even afford the elementary school tuition. So, and yet he really encouraged me. And he also had good connection and helped me to learn about the school. So along the way, during those years at University of Maryland, this advisor, physics professor, was such a blessing to me that he helped me, even though I didn't think of any way of going to Ivy League University like Cornell. Because of my poor English, I couldn't even have applied to Ivy League when I was applying for college, because I was only in the US for 1 year at the time. So that's a first example of my advisor really fruitful relationship, because I was a blessing to him, making good contribution to his lab work. And then I did get into Cornell, which is a miracle on its own. And I received various scholarship, financial aid, and work study. Because of the work study, the professors are willing and eager to hire us because the government subsidized. So I worked for a very famous professor, Lester Eastman, in the semiconductor industry. So I, again, contributed to his lab. I worked hard and I got paid for my work study. And then he and his team recommended me to go to AT&T as a summer intern when I was a rising junior. So it was really amazing that because of my lab work, blessing my professor and the team, they found my personal brand to be very productive, very collaborative, and they value my qualities, and they think that I can contribute to the Bell Labs AT&T internship. So through that relationship, because my professor worked with, did research with AT&T Bell Labs, so it was very easy for me to get accepted through the university relations program. So when you're in university, I strongly recommend to volunteer to take the initiative, to reach out to areas that you're interested in and that you can contribute, whether you get paid or not. So in my case, there are scenarios of getting paid or not. And remember, when we find advisors and mentors along the way, doesn't mean that you're only asking people to help you. We should think about how we can bless people, how you can use your strength and your personal brand to really help them to be successful. That's what we're going to talk about the rest of the 45 minutes. How do we build those fruitful relationships? Not just thinking about help me, give me, and what you want to look for in your internship or in your work or your advice. You want to help them as well. And then the final story is when I was at Princeton. So after I worked for AT&T as a summer intern, and then I graduated from Cornell in engineering, AT&T hired me as a full-time employee, and then they put me through graduate school at Princeton. To be honest, I'm not really that smart. I'm just really thankful for God giving me all these opportunities in the last 4 or 5 decades, helping me to learn and build fruitful relationship and then bless other people. So at Princeton, there are many good professors, research scientists, and famous Nobel Prize winners, including one of my advisor, M.E.N.T.O.R. He's a Nobel Prize winner. And in fact, he's also from Hong Kong, and his high school is sister high school to my high school in Hong Kong, Truelike Girls College. So it's very small world. Of course, he's decades older. And I learned from him as my advisor, being a role model, that he's very humble, even though he received a Nobel Prize winner. And he advised me on courses and fields to research in. In fact, he used to work for AT&T. So many of my coworkers, while I was working at AT&T and studying at Princeton as a part-time graduate student, they all knew each other. So all that really built fruitful relationship, because the network, the relationship with each other help to make our partnership, our research more fruitful. So again, it's not just about me, myself, and I, it's about helping each other to be successful. And then along the way, when I continued to work for AT&T for 33 years, I had 20 to 30 advisors, mentors, and sponsors. And I categorized the 3 areas that I could receive coaching from. The first one is mentor. We all know about mentoring. So mentors speak to us about their experience and ask me questions and see how we can come up with a plan. The second type is coach. The coach speak with me. They discuss, ask questions so that I can come up with some answers along the way as they guide me. And then the third type of advisor is sponsors. They speak about me. Even today, as I have retired or refired, I have sponsors who would speak about me to other organizations and seminaries and churches, and that they gave me many opportunities to speak and serve. So that's the 3 types that you can think about in terms of advisors. Mentors speak to you about the experience. Coach speak with you, asking you questions to help you and coach you along the way. And then the sponsors who speak about you and tell people about your personal brand and your strength. And then in general, there are all types of other network. And there are talks in the YouTube that I describe the CRIMPS. So CRIMPS. C is your collaborator, coach. R is your realist, people who tell you the truth, tell you what you need to hear. I is the industry insider. They know about the next big thing, the technology or the field that they're specialists in. M is the mentor. We'll talk more about it today. And then P is partner, peers. We also discussed some today. And finally, S is the sponsor. So we have all types of network, and I speak a lot of different networking topics that you can check out in our Call to Work YouTube. And then AT&T sent me to different executive education. Those are more short-term, a few weeks or a month. And then throughout my career and now in my ministry, I continue to grow those fruitful relationship with the different types of advisors. So that's my journey map, which is one of the tools that I recommend for you to prepare as you look for your advisors along the way. So I really like the word fruit because I believe we all should have a fruitful life and that we could bless others through our fruitful life. So one of the talks you'll see in the YouTube is how to bear fruit in your college application process. And I came up with a acrostic. And while our audience today is mostly for college students and the parents, I hope as you're going to college now that you are finding your passion and interest in what you study. It's so important to do and study what you enjoy, even though it may not be the popular thing. So very important to know your own passion and interest. And then R is to research and apply for the right college, not necessarily the best one, but the right one that fits you exactly with your personality, your interest, your financial situation and geography and so forth. And then U is to use your passion to choose the right field. I is to improve and make the best of your college life. So we're proud of you attending today's webinar to help you how to make fruitful relationship with your advisor and your peers. And finally, to train and equip yourself to build a future successful career. So that's the fruit for college application. So today, I came up with fruit for you as you learn how to build fruitful relationship with your advisor and your peers on today's topic. F is the first impression last. So let's dive straight into the 5 subtopics. The first impression is going to last a long, long time. So let me start by saying all that we're going to discuss is on how effective are you communicating to these advisors and to your peers. And there are many communication talks and topics I shared in the YouTube that you can check out later. Today, I'm going to just briefly mention how your first impression make a big difference. And that's how I've learned throughout the years, how I build fruitful relationship with the first positive impression. And look at what Meridian rule tells us. There are 3 V that affect how we've built the first impression. The bulk of it is 55%, our body language. So when we are not in COVID, when we see people in person, your visual, how people see you, that 55% impact on how they remember you. So your facial expression, your hand motion, your smile, how you shake their hand, your body language speak volume on how you come across with your personal brand, visual. And then 38% is your voice, your pitch. Do you pause in between? How do you project your pace? How fast and slow and how loud or gentle you speak? So all that 38% represent how they remember you, your voice. Do you pause? And then verbal is 7%. What word do you speak? And we work so hard, and we need to work hard in all 3 V's, right? Verbal, we have so many talks to learn. How do you shine your talk? How do you speak in the right way? Clear, concise, and compelling. I give you some tools today. So that's how our first impression gonna make a difference in our relationship with people, advisors or peers alike. So let's dive in to build a positive first impression with those 3 V that we just talked about. Think about your attitude, because your attitude matters. And I'm very focused on the gratitude attitude, because that is your attitude to bring you to higher grounds, higher level. So the green text is gratitude is the attitude to altitude. So to me, one of the most important attitude is being thankful. When you build relationship with your advisors and peers, always appreciate and be thankful. So I have this acrostic thanks to remind us when you first impression with people, you have active listening, seek to understand, see where they're coming from, what is their objective, or I need to be objective to think from their perspective, not just from myself, my own point of view, but listen why they think this way. What is their goal? And the rhythm is a very popular term in the industry, in leadership, in our working. What's in it for me? So you think about what's the rhythm for your advisor and your peers when you interact with them. What is the benefit? So really think from their perspective, not about me, myself, and I. And then H is harmony and humility in planning solutions. You are bound to work with your peers in projects or with your advisors. When people work together, we're bound to have conflicts because we are different. And I'll tell you a new way to look at conflict. Conflict is not bad. It's not negative. It's not just thinking hurtful. Conflict could be very positive, and I'll tell you why in the next slide. So when we have conflict and we'll work with people, we want to have harmony, like I said, peacemaker, not a troublemaker, and be humble to listen to what others are thinking about. So when I talk about conflict resolution, there are many talks in my YouTube channel to give you many tools and 10 ways to address conflict resolution. I look at conflict most times should be healthy and is positive. And it has these 3 R blessings for us. We don't look at conflict as negative unless those conflicts are really vicious, are intended to hurt each other. Many times the conflicts are natural because we have different point of view, different personalities. So that's typical. Let's take advantage of these conflicts to build harmony and build these 3 R blessings. So for me as a Christian, in conflict, it's really my faith in action, testing all the wisdom I learned from my faith and my Bible. So it's very powerful practice. And the second R is relationship, how I can use this conflict to get to know each other, to understand where they're coming from, to build better relationship, to influence them, to really help lead each other and to be the best and build teamwork and also be assertive, set boundary. I'll cover some of these later on as well, how to influence and how to be assertive. And finally, the third R is the result. Because we have conflict, because we have different point of view, when we have harmony and humility, we learn to listen to each other. Then the result is actually not just my way or their way. It's our way, our shared vision that is win-win. And it's not just for my best, and it's also for their best. And it's for our collective best. So that we can resolve the conflict with a better way than my own way or their way. So collectively, I say 1 + 1 is greater than 3. So look at conflict in a positive way. And then A is to accept each other's differences. Some of them could be weakness, and then some of them, their strength. So be sure to take advantage of each other's strength so that we can build on our strength, our passion, appreciate and advance our project and our partnership using our strength. And N is to nurture trusted and respectful relationship. We'll come back to this at the very end of our webinar today. Because ultimately, as we all know, in Chinese, 有关系就没关系. So it's really how trusted are you as a student, as a mentee, as a peer? How respectful are you to each other? That really boils down to how well we can work together. And then K is to keep open mind, listen to each other, like I said earlier, and we have many tips and tools helping us to practice active listening. Based on what people tell you, how can you repeat and rephrase and say, oh, professor, this is what you're saying, I got it. So that people understand that, you are paying attention, you understand what they said, and you're rephrasing it, practice active listening. And then from your peers, your iron sharpening iron, helping each other, win-win. And finally, servant leader, that we can all be servant leaders and shine. Think of how to help others to be successful, because when others are successful, you will be successful as a team as well. So that's first impression last, build a positive personal brand and have a thankful attitude. So when we build relationship, it's all about leadership. And isn't about what title you have. Even as a student, you can influence your professor your advisor and help them to be their best and accomplish a shared vision on some research in your course. Because my definition of leadership in this 11 word, give us the privilege and the right to lead up to your professor, your boss, your parents, lead across your peers, your siblings, your friends, and lead down people who may be younger than you or on your team. So using this concept of leadership, as we continue to build fruitful relationship, you can influence your advisor and your peers. And when we build this fruitful relationship, there are two sets of value I want to share with you. Again, the YouTube has many more talks in detail. I'll just give you the highlights. We want our servant leaders to shine. And I like the word shine a lot because my name Elaine means light, and we all want to shine. Like this Bible verse, that's my life verse. Let our words, our action, our deeds to shine. So using the shine, these are the 5 high emotional quotient value and qualities that I recommend in building fruitful relationship. Like I said earlier, servant leadership is not about me, myself, and I. It's about helping them to be successful, helping the project, and to be humble, to know that others have ideas and better ones too, that I can listen. And be sure to be assertive as well. Be confident in sharing your own ideas. And integrity, to make sure you're doing the right thing, whether people are watching or not. That's the definition of integrity. And nurture respect will come back at the end. And always have empathy, right? Not apathy, I don't care how you feel, or sympathy, oh, I feel sorry for how you feel, but it's empathy. I feel how you feel. It's very powerful. Oh, professor, you must be so tired based on your very busy schedule. You must be so swamped with the many papers that you need to prepare and coach your student. So express how they feel, and that goes a long way because these are high emotional quotient qualities and values that I practice. And the humility as Asian, don't just pretend to be humble. When people say, oh, good job, Derek, thank you for hosting us and leading this webinar. And you wouldn't say, oh, not really, I didn't do so well. You say, oh, thank you for the opportunity. I'm still learning. That's assertive. That's the proper way of humility. So it's not just the hypocritical way of humility. So that's a positive emotional quotient, high value, building fruitful relationship. And this is a negative set of values, right? We want to avoid the groans. The low emotional quotient is when people's words and action affect your value, degrade your value, and control your response. So we don't want that to happen because our peers, our advisor may sometimes get us upset or get on our nerves. So we need to avoid the groans. Do not gossip or be greedy, revenge, obsessed in self-pity or worry, against biblical values, mean-spirited, forming cliques or taking sides, avoid negative reaction, just react to what people say and do, because what they say and do is their responsibility, it's not yours. So don't take over their responsibility, to set boundary. So don't get mad and get even. And then don't be selfish, just thinking about me, myself, and I. And then don't be stressed out. So those are low EQ to avoid in relationship building. So fruitful, first impression for F. R is the rapport building. If you look at all types of research, how to find good advisors and build relationship, we're going to learn about the right mentoring guidelines and what are the advisor role and the advisee role. So mentor, first, as a mentor, we want to be good role model, good example. So we want to learn from these mentors, your advisors. And I mentioned to you the network crimps. So the connector, realist, industry insider, mentor, partner, and sponsor. Each one of them plays a unique role. Some people ask me, can it be the same person for all 6 roles? Possible, but rare. And then we need all these 6 types of mentors and relationship. And then E is to encourage growth based on our strength. Like I said, it's so important to value each other's strength instead of the weakness. So StrengthsFinder is a tool that I recommend to all my students and mentees. It's just $20 book to buy this Gallup research powerful tool to find out what your strengths are, to be sure to use them in your study, in your projects, in your career, and in your community service. N is to nurture on areas that you need to develop and to grow, still be open-minded on it. And T is to talent match. In the advisor relationship, hopefully your advisor get to know your personal brand and your strength, and then match your strength with the right business, academic, and opportunity and the projects, like my advisor have done. And always to observe confidentiality. Make sure that we don't talk about it outside of what your advisor may share with you if anything is confidential, and also be honest so that we can build trust with each other. And finally, be sure to have regular check-in to follow up on how you're doing and the progress you're making. So I've done a lot of mentoring. Every month I have 20-some mentees from my student, from my class that I would coach them. And then I have many mentors over the years, like I shared. I summarized how we can best mentor others and how to be the best mentees. So on the left is the mentee, the student. On the right is the mentor, how to inspire. And both of us need to have these ABCDE skill. Active listening, I gave you some example earlier. Repeat what they say. Eye contact, acknowledge them, and build trust. We'll talk more about that at the end. And realize what your current reality is. And then want to grow and develop goals where you want to go next, and be encouraging with each other. And then as a student, as a mentee, your role learns. So you're the owner. You need to take the initiative on your meeting with your advisor, your mentor. Structured agenda, and I've always done that. When I had mentors and advisors in my career, I'm very respectful of their time. So I would only perhaps schedule me 30 minutes. So depending on how much time they are and with your advisor, and then how to be eager to learn and grow. And you're responsible for finding the mentors, building the fruitful relationship that we're talking about today, and nurture your follow through. Whatever you learn from your advisor, be sure to follow up and do summary. Oh, here's what we learned today, and these are my action plan. And then from time to time, let them know how you're doing. Otherwise, they feel like they didn't hear from you. Only when you need something, you come and talk to them. And it's a waste of their time. They're not sure if you're following up with the action plan that they suggest to you. And then always show initiative. And then as a mentor, we need to work the role of inspires, that we instruct and develop capability to help the students grow, help them navigate in the company, with navigate politics, perhaps in university have some politics as well, and the network and certain relationship. And then share your career plan and choices and action with the mentee. Provide a corrective feedback. When you see something going wrong, be honest and be positive in how to help them see the area they need to correct. And help the mentee to go from inexperience to experience, and how to manage the risk, and eager to help and set boundary, and respect each other's time. If we say 30 minutes, keep it like 30 minutes. And if it's an hour, then keep it an hour. And then be open and honest to share my own failures and success with the mentee. So that's the best practice for mentoring. So this is example for my one-on-one. In general, what are my requirements? And then I tell my mentee to prepare before the meeting, the agenda, the purpose, and send it in advance, and your resume and so forth. And then during the meeting, the mentee should lead the time and allocate the agenda. So if it's an hour, how do you start with the opening, and how much time to introduce yourself? What is your question? And how much time to allow the mentor to talk to you or the coach to talk with you? So make sure at least half of the time is to listen to what your advisor has to say. Make sure you don't talk more than half of the time, because you're spending time to value their advice. And then finally, after the meeting, make sure that you summarize, not to write very detailed, but very clear takeaway, and the action plan, and then check in progress from time to time. So that's my one-on-one typical structure agenda. So this is example. I have hundreds of mentees, in fact, over 1,000 students around the world, and some of them meet with me based on need. Some are every month. So this is a student from Biola College that I am their mentor in the mentoring program. So this student, as an example, very clear every month, what's the agenda, what's the takeaway, and the action plan. So when you meet with your advisor and mentors, coaches, and sponsor, you want to quickly introduce yourself. So here are some examples how you summarize your journey map to quickly tell them where you come from, what your experience, and I'm giving you some examples, and you can take screenshot and use these as tools to prepare so that you're clear and concise. So I share with you that long line journey map, and this is one of my version of journey map. It's kind of winding road and talk about my past experience and different field. So in my 33 years with the 16 jobs and 19 bosses and what I worked on. And then here's a very simple creative idea of a speaker, also a good friend, that they capture in these 5 C's in their career and faith journey. And then they talk about how they're growing in their career. And here's an example where this is kind of elderly through the decades of their experience from the preparation, career, and legacy phase. So different ways to show your advisor, your mentor, who you are and what you've done. And here's one of my mentors at work from my years working at AT&T. She started as a teacher. And this is a very concise and compelling journey map where if you look in the detail, it isn't just about the role that she took, it's also about what she learned and the many strength and personal brand. For example, listen carefully, solve their problems. So this is a very good way to demonstrate both what you did and how you did it. And then she summarized, if you're uncomfortable, then you're growing. So this is a very good example of journey map. Now let's move on to you of the fruit. Understand mutual interest. So just like when you buy a house, they say location, location, location. So when we build fruitful relationship, it's about communication, communication, and communication. And it's one of my favorite topic to talk about. So today I'm just going to give you some very brief guidelines in addition to what I just shared earlier. And as you know, in our Chinese character, Ting right here. So communication is about listening, and it's not just about speaking. So a lot of it, it's about your listening with your ears, with your eyes, with your heart. So Chinese characters have so much wisdom. So we need to practice active listening. I gave you some ideas earlier. Repeat what they say, talk about how they feel, have empathy. And body language, we said that's 55%, the visual, how people see you, your facial expression, your eye contact, all that. Give them the first impression impact of visual, 55%. And then character praise. When you praise people, don't just say, oh, wonderful, terrific, thank you for your advice. You would be very specific and say, for example, to your peers and say, oh, thank you, Derek, for being so responsible with this project and so generous with your time helping me. So be specific in praising people using character words. Thank you, advisor, for being so humble and honest, sharing your own experience and your failure and success. That really means a lot to me. So be specific. And then D is to discipline your tongue. In Chinese, it's 少开金口,多说金话. So try to listen and think 3 times before you speak and respond. And when you speak, express affirmation, be positive, catch people do right. That's how you build fruitful relationship. And of course, if there are things that are wrong, we need to learn. And there are many tools to help us to make suggestions and give advice to people how to improve. So these are how we speak as a basic guidelines. There are many more tools that we can dive in for communication. And then what you speak also has a lot of art and science in it. So this is an example of our talk on practical ABCD communication skill that work. So you can go check it out, either on our website or on our YouTube channel. And here's the what to say example, a very powerful tool that really help us to tell stories. No one likes to listen to lectures like I'm speaking to you in a lecture way. People like to listen to stories. So you communicate by crafting clear, concise, and compelling stories. And here's a tool example. And using one of my favorite verse in Isaiah, that we want to soar on wings like eagles. So the soar is situation, obstacle, action, and result. And similar to a very popular way called STAR. So the idea is to tell a 1 to 2 minute story. You don't have too much time, whether you run into your advisor on campus, like your elevator pitch, you run into your advisor in the elevator. I run into my company CEO in the elevator, and I had an elevator pitch with him for 2 minutes. Talk about topics they're interested in a SOAR story approach. So the SOAR story, 1 to 2 minutes, you use it also for interviews, for any brief conversation with people. It talks about why, what, how, and how much. And I always tell people to prepare minimum 3 SOAR stories. And I'll give you examples now on intelligent quotient, on emotional quotient, and on adversity quotient. So here we go. Also, I suggest that we can come up with our own inventory of our SWOT. And you probably know SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat, for analyzing a project, a product, a service, a company, or organization. We do this all the time at work. I'm suggesting you can do a SWOT inventory for your own assessment and also collect from people. Once you prepare this, it will go a long way for you to articulate yourself when you are in interviews, go a long way to learn how you build your strength. Because in your projects, in working with your advisor, you always want to use the strength, like I said earlier. So when you do this SWOT inventory, it's powerful to know, wow, my strengths are analytical and critical thinking. This is one of my students. And my weaknesses are, and how I'm going to develop those weaknesses. And the top is my internal way of doing things. And the bottom is the external way of interacting with people. What are my opportunities to grow, whether it's leadership, soft skill or hard skill? And then what are my threats? Some are my blind spots that I'm not aware of. So I use this for my career with my boss, and it's been a tremendous blessing. And my students develop this. So once you have it, then you can start planning your SOAR story. Example. And you can time me. It will be less than 2 minutes. This one, perhaps around 1 minute. I'm good at executing complex projects with excellence. Good with team collaboration, on time and on budget. One time, I took over a complex auditing project without any proper handoff from the last owner. Usually, we would take 2 months for transition, and yet I was challenged to complete it in 14 business days, a very aggressive schedule. So I pulled together a cross-functional team. We established our clear goal and worked very diligently with the focus effort. As a result, we finished this transition in 10 business days, 4 days ahead of schedule. A very powerful SOAR story. And this is the template in our website. There are many more examples. And this is one for adversity quotient, a very challenging, difficult, aggressive schedule. And you see their numbers. Make sure you quantify your before and after. So here's one for intelligent quotient. I'm a fast learner. I enjoy learning new things and helping the team to be successful. One time, my professor asked us to use a tool that we've never learned before. Usually, it takes 13 weeks to take the course and learn the tool. I took the initiative to study online and learn the tool, and I asked experts. In 3 weeks, I learned the tool, and I helped our project team to use this tool, and we finished the project, and we got an A. So that's an example of intelligent quotient, less than a minute. So these are very detailed that my student would tell me, and they spend 30 minutes, an hour tell me, but we want to summarize and highlight what matters to the audience, the key points. So final example, emotional quotient. I'm a good people person. I enjoy working with others and help the team to be successful. One time I joined a new team, and there's a peer who tend to be a little bit difficult to get along. She wouldn't talk to people or greet or interact with others. Well, I didn't give up. Every time we work on our project, I would still greet her, run into her in school, and I offer help when she needed. Then we became friends, and we worked on this project and the paper together, and we got an A. So here's some examples of SOAR stories. So try and practice those. And then in the fruit is to implement these effective one-on-one meetings. So I gave you some example of my one-on-one with my student, the before, during, and after. You can do this one-on-one with your boss if you're working, with your advisor in school, and very diligent preparing your agenda. And again, in YouTube or our website has this whole talk on effective communication with your boss, building positive relationship, how to shine the values, and then how to shine to help your boss shine, to influence up and nurture these ABCDE skills. And this is the E, effective one-on-one relationship meetings. So these are the 6P that you may think about if you're working, because you may talk to your boss or your advisor about people, project, profitable to your project or school or your company, problems that you may have, what are some people issues, and perhaps you want to get promoted. So this is the agenda you can consider. So typically you have regular time meeting with your advisor, hopefully once every week or every 2 weeks or once a month, set time. And then think about what are your completed milestones since your last meeting, and use the SOAR story approach to very clear, concise, and compelling to tell them, and use PowerPoint. I usually like to use PowerPoint to help me capture, because my English isn't perfect. I want to make it easy. And remember, the first impression, 55% visual. So your slide's a big visual contribution. And current priority and time allocation. And then finally, from time to time, not every time, talk about career development and plan. So because of our tight time, I'm just going to go quickly. So the completed milestones since the last meeting. If it's a 30-minute, you may spend about 10, 15 minutes on this topic, using the SOAR. And remember to show your result. Don't just show a laundry list of what you did. You also tell them how you did it and the impact, the numbers, the result. And then be proactive in your problem solving, not just say, oh, advisor, I have this problem. You say, oh, I identified this issue on the experiment, and I look into this different research ideas and talk to others, and these are different ways. So you're proactive to offer solutions that you already come up with, and then get their feedback. And then from time to time, ask if they think that you're on the right track. So that way you won't get surprised at the end and say, oh no, I missed what my advisor's expecting from me. And then current priority and time allocation will be the other half of the time for your one-on-one. To make sure you align expectation, you say these are the 5 projects and this is the priority and time allocation. Make sure you're on the same page. And no advisors, no bosses like any surprises, whether it's good surprise or bad surprise. So you want to be the first one to tell your advisor good news or bad news in a positive way. So how you communicate definitely takes a lot of practice. And then define what may be above the line and below the line, so we have the same expectation. And then when you do talk about your career or your growth, whether on your project in school or at work, then you can think about what is your career goal or your project goal and what it takes to the next level. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this since we are addressing to the student. So this is the overall how to implement effective one-on-one. And again, there's a whole talk, an hour on this in detail. And then T, finally T, fruit. T is trusted and respectful relationship. This is so core and important to our relationship with our advisors, with our peers. We need to meet them where they are, need to respect them the way they are. We cannot expect everyone to be like us, because in my years working and studying, I made so many mistakes. I expect people to be as energetic, as hardworking as I am. I can't expect that. So respect. All is to recognize everyone is different. Meet them where they are. And go to where they are, be empathetic, and then take them a step at a time toward where we want to go together. Empathy is to listen and connect. So don't just assume, we need to ask. Don't just accuse people. We need to listen and connect and build that relationship with the relations to understand how they feel, the empathy. And then self-monitor, listen to ourselves and watch ourselves, be more self-aware. How am I coming across? How do people receive my suggestions and how I communicate? And be others aware and think about what people may receive our message as. So think first before we speak, or think 3 times, 三思而后说, not just act, but also before you speak, think at least 3 times. And then give people personal space, give them room. If sometimes we may not agree, we give us time and space to think through it and to come back to it later. And then to earn trust. Your respect and trust isn't going to come easy. It's going to take time. It's through your words and your actions. And you need to earn it. It's not something that we can easily just claim. You can trust me. It's really through your actions that you can be trustworthy. And finally, to cheer on their success, whether it's your advisor or your peer, when they're doing some good work, they got recognition, find positive way to cheer on them. For example, many of my advisors, my peers, coworkers, when they celebrate their birthday, I would use acrostic to come up with their names, like Derek. D is diligent, E is encouraging, R is responsible, E is energetic, and K is kind, as an example, just to encourage them, to celebrate with them, and finally treat everyone as equal so that we can give each other opportunity. So that's the T in our fruit. And in all those relationships, I don't mean for us to be passive and just think about other people's needs. Asians tend to do that. And I don't mean for us to be aggressive, quote unquote, like the Western culture, and only think about your own need and be self-centered and coming strong. We want to be both. So be mindful of my needs and others' needs and be assertive. And again, it's a big topic. There are many YouTube channels to talk through those in our YouTube channel and our website. So then, and we build relationship. We study a lot of leadership courses and books, and this really summarizes how I can build good relationship with my advisor, respecting them, be enthusiastic on what they do, and know their priorities and how to help them to be their best and work with their weakness, because everyone is not perfect, right? Absolutely. So how can I complement and supplement them, build a trust and what they're interested in, and be obedient, respond to what they need, nurture positive character and integrity, and our servant heart. And what is their heartbeat? What keeps them up at night? What is important to their research, to their teaching, to their work? And understand what their vision is, and then finally know their personality and their strength and work with them to build this relationship. And all this can dive in more detail, but at least I want you to know this is how you want to build fruitful relationship with your advisor and with your peers. So that is our fruit summary. And finally, I trust that you will be superb in your calling, in your character, commitment, in your chemistry building relationship, and your competence. And the superb is to summarize these qualities that I talked about today, that think about serving others, be a servant leader of integrity, and let your uniqueness shine, your positive personal brand shine. Like in my 16 jobs, in my 33 years of career, most of them, because people know my uniqueness. The new organization know my personal brand and they invite me to join them. So let your uniqueness, personal brand shine. And your passion come through and be persistent and be proactive. And then whatever you do, do it with excellence. And of course, don't give yourself more pressure than you need to. Just do your best and trust God to bless you with the rest. And then be a reliable resource and find ways to research and help your advisor and your peers. And then I can't stress enough, we always want to build trusted and respectful relationship. So go visit our website, calltowork.org. There are a lot of resources in English and in Chinese, and this is my email, my WeChat, and my Facebook account if you like to keep in touch. And our YouTube channel, Call to Work with ED, it's organized by our coworker. Very thankful for their help into the 4 swim lanes, S is all the self-care related topic, both in English and in Chinese. W is all the workplace topics, a lot of leadership and apply to school as well. I is integrated life, a holistic view. And then M is moving forward. And then all of my books and YouTubes and topics are summarized in these 4 swim lanes. And this QR code will help you go to the YouTube channel or our website easily. And then the one thing I want to highlight is Shine Your Talk. It's related to today's topic on communication and building relationship. So we have this new series coming out at the end of this year. Go check out this website, Global Reach Out. And in there are a few different Chinese and English series as well. So it's a 15 weekly broadcast.